Welcome to the Learning Lab. This is Volume 7. We are here discussing the effect of heat, the biological effect, the physiological effect of heat. And we're following the progression of this patient who recently, 4 weeks ago, she fell and she struck her hip. Anybody who's seen the prior volume of this case is familiarized themselves with what happened with this patient. But I'll just summarize. She fell, she struck her left hip, she developed a hematoma around the left lateral aspect of the hip with substantial bruising all along down the leg. So basically what we've been discussing on this volume is when is the right time to use heat. Now what we're learning is that earlier is better than later in utilizing heat, and there are certain biological reasons why, and it is those biological reasons that we've been studying as we're following the progression of this patient. But what I want to do is I just want to summarize what we've learned in these last 4 videos following the progression of this patient. So you allow me, you can come right over here. We're going to just summarize what we learned thus far. We know that heat is an energy source. We know that energy travels in waves. So energy travels in a waveform. All energy, no matter the source, travels in air in a wave-like pattern in space. We know that when you apply this heat or this energy source to living tissue, it creates vibrations in the molecules which make up the tissues. Now, when you create that vibration, that normal frequency range inside the tissues, that did not have it before because it was traumatized, what you're, in essence, what you're stimulating or what you get is a healing effect. Now, what we're going to learn today is that we know that water molecules assist the body in staying healthy. We know that we all need a certain amount of water intake to maintain healthy, basically body chemistry. We know that the body is flowing with water molecules. We all know, we're all familiar with the knowledge that the body is made up majority of water molecules. We know that damaged tissue is thick and dense. Anybody who has experience in palpating or sensing damaged tissue gets to feel that damaged tissue is very thick and it's very dense. It's very hard. It doesn't feel pliable as normal tissue does. Now, the reason is that damaged tissue apparently loses the normal water state that you would normally find in normal tissue. Now, we know that heat hydrates tissue by manipulating and diffusing into the traumatized area. So basically what heat does, my position is that heat changes the state of the water molecules. It allows water molecules to flow or diffuse into traumatized tissue, creating a chemical environment inside the tissues that's conducive for normal healing to occur. But it's what the energy does to the water that's important in the healing effect. And I set up an experiment so you can see how energy, how it travels through space and what effect it has on water molecules. So if you allow me, let's go right over here to this little experiment that I set up. Now what I did is that this is a regular plastic cup filled a little bit more than halfway with just simple tap water. It's at room temperature. I'm hanging it here from the wall, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a hot pack or a heat energy and expose this water to that energy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to see, thank you, I'm going to allow you to see how that energy changes the state of the water. Now what I have here is the Fleur system. We've seen this before. It allows us to see energy flow into and out of tissue or animate or inanimate objects. So what I'm going to do is, we already seen this before. We already seen the energy waves emanating from the hot pack. And we'll just go through it one more time. Now, we've seen this before. That violet color Though that is the energy waves. That is the energy spectrum from this hot pack. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expose this water. I'm going to expose this water to these energy waves. They're traveling through space, and you're going to see the change. First, let's see how it looks in a normal state without agitation. This water is not agitated. You can see the silhouette of the cup. You can see the water. It's the blue. That blue is how it looks in thermal imaging. No different than when you would see the ocean color. You can see the spectrum, the heat spectrum of that water. Now, this is non-agitated water molecules. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expose this water. This water to this heat energy. You see how you see the color? It's now taking on a violet color. This energy emanating from this hot pack, it's agitating those water molecules. This is very similar to what it does in the animate tissue, on living tissue. It agitates the water molecules. It creates flow. There are billions of water molecules inside this cup. This energy is agitating those water molecules. They are bouncing off the container. They are bouncing off each other. They are traveling inside this cup. You can see it right. You can see it very clearly. You can see how the water changes color. That's water molecules. They're moving. They're being agitated. It's generating a thermal imprint. Now, obviously, we cannot see it with our bare eyes. We can see it with this machine. Now, if I was to put a thermometer inside this water, the temperature will be it's a little bit warmer. That's what you would expect. The water molecules are flowing, bouncing against this wall. This is what hot pack, this is what heat does when you put it on a living tissue. The water molecules inside become agitated. They start flowing. They start flowing into spaces that were dehydrated, such as traumatized tissue. Because you're creating a vector force. These water molecules are actually being pushed through the medium. You're creating a flow. Now you can see you can see that it's not making contact. It's traveling through space, that energy. And again, you can see the water. It changes. You can see the energy is penetrating into the cup and it's agitating the water molecules. Now let's take the hot pack off. The water molecules, as soon as you remove the energy source, the water molecules become static again. And you can see very clearly the difference. Now these water molecules, this is the interesting thing. They're not completely, just the heat of my body is able to create movement now, agitation in the water molecules. Now remember, the human body produces energy. It doesn't produce that much energy, but right now it produces enough energy to agitate these water molecules because of the prior agitation from the greater energy source which this hot pack produced. This is just my finger. And you can see I produce enough energy to agitate the water molecules again. Violet color means water molecules are being agitated. They're moving inside this cup. Again, now let's take out all the energy. And they go back to a static position. Now let's go over here and let's go through this case one more time and we'll show you the progress. Now, if you allow me, come closer so you can see the actual improvement here. The dashed lines where last week's congestion was accumulated. You can see the difference. The dashed lines is last week's. The solid lines is this week's. You can see that it's flatter. It's still, the area that's involved is still relatively non-pliable. But the new dimensions are 1 3/4 inch from top to bottom and 1 1/2 inch from side to side. Those who saw the last video will remember that it was 2 inches top to bottom and 2 inches side to side. This is the old dimension right here, the dashed lines. So you can see that this congested region, this mineralized region, or not mineralized, but it was mineralizing, this congested area has reduced substantially from last week. This right here, this area right here, this is normal tissue. This is normal tissue. This is hydrated tissue right here. Nice and pliable. This is the old dimensions right here, these dashed lines. These solid lines, this is the new dimension here. It's reduced. It's reducing in size. There's still a little bit of ways to go, but it's definitely reducing in size. And again, and now if we get a view of the thermogram, what is it that we see here? Again, we see the biological activity. The red signifies the biological activity. We can see that this tissue is not stagnant. This tissue is in a healing mode. If it would not be in a healing mode, it would be completely white, which is what you do not want. You want to initiate a biological activity inside this tissue. You want to create vibrations of the molecules that make up the tissues, of which water is the primary molecule that makes up the human body. So we want to keep this red going until this area right over here completely becomes normal again. So now we can. So what have we learned thus far? This is what we've learned. We know that heat can be used sooner than later. We know that heat manipulates the frequency or the vibrations of molecules as they exist inside a structure. It could be inside a cup, an inanimate object, or it can be inanimate tissue. It makes no difference. But when we're dealing with living tissue, we cannot allow stagnation to reside for too long inside the tissues, because the molecules will not be able to structure themselves back to a normal configuration. You need to introduce energy into the tissue, of which the simplest energy that we can utilize, it's not cold, but it's heat. So you can use heat earlier than we've been taught in school, earlier than what we thought we could. We have to get away from this inflammatory response and reducing inflammation. What we need to do is the reverse. We need to agitate tissue. We need to create vibrations in the tissues. We've seen it in this case. I have not been using cold. I've been using heat, and I've been using ultrasound. I believe that we will probably need one more treatment to resolve this condition completely. We are going to continue treating this condition until this congested area resolves completely. We cannot leave any congestion behind, because any small congestion may lead to mineralization. the tissues will become harder if we allow this condition to exist inside the tissues. Cold will not resolve this. So we use the simplest energy at our disposal. We need to agitate the molecules. We need to increase the frequency. We need to introduce energy waves into this tissue. So we're going to continue to treat this area the way we've been treating it the last 3 times. This is treatment number 4. I believe we're going on our 4th week. So we will probably be here one more time dealing with this condition. For anybody that has any questions or has any statements or has any advice on how we can improve treatment of these conditions, please make your opinion felt. You can contact me at YouTube. You can put a comment there. But for anybody that sees this video, I want to thank you. Until next time.